Where are you now, when our daughter has been rushed to the hospital with serious injuries? Panicking after receiving a call from the hospital while on a business trip, I contacted my husband. Our 5-year-old daughter had happily talked about having a picnic in the park with Daddy over the phone. And now, she had fallen from high playground equipment in the park and was unconscious.
Just wait a minute. I'm in the middle of a business meeting at the office.
On the other end of the phone, my husband also started to panic for some reason. Our conversation was not making sense, and both of us were confused. In the flow of the conversation, my husband mentioned a certain person's name. As soon as I heard it, the blood drained from my face. Since we both worked, our daughter, Karen, went to daycare. Despite our busy lives with work, housework, and childcare, we enjoyed our life as a family of 3, cooperating with each other. My in-laws were nice people and adored our daughter. Except for one person. Her name was Sophia, 3 years younger than me, living at her parents' house while working a temp job. So, when we visited my husband's parents' house, we often saw her.
Shall we head back? We'll come to visit again. Hey, Karen, say bye to Sophia.
Bye, Sophia. As we were leaving, Karen only glanced at my smiling sister-in-law before quickly hiding behind me.
Sorry, she's a bit shy. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
Even if my daughter behaved rudely, Sophia always brushed it off like this. But that was only in front of my husband or parents. Afterwards, she smiled only at my husband, saying, "Come visit again, Hugo." She didn't even glance my way as I apologized. The last Hugo sounded oddly emphasized, or is it just me overthinking? Actually, Sophia and I attended the same university. However, we didn't know each other during our student days, and I don't know much about her from that time. One thing is clear, she doesn't seem to like me much. Even this time, if my husband hadn't been there, she would have said something like, "Can't even greet properly at her age," with a hint of sarcasm. Sophia behaves normally towards me and my daughter in front of my husband or parents. But the treatment we get when we're alone with her is cold. This was evident when my daughter had a fever and was suddenly called from daycare, and I asked my mother-in-law to pick her up.
You asked our parents to pick her up again? It's a nuisance if she passes on her cold or something.
I'm sorry. I had an unavoidable meeting. Yeah, there it is. Think everything's excused if it's for work? My mom's not young anymore, don't overburden her, okay? I'm not free either. Indeed, we did rely on my in-laws for our daughter, but we always tried to keep it to a minimum and properly thanked them afterwards. And I've never inconvenienced Sophia, at least. Oh, sorry. Compared to a full-time working mom with a kid, me and my retired parents must seem pretty free to you, huh? Sophia sneered, looking at me with a twisted mouth. Nobody said that. Because she always behaved this way only in front of me and my daughter, Karen became wary of Sophia. I suppose she didn't find that amusing. It's natural to have people you don't get along with, and for me and my daughter, that was Sophia. I've tried to keep my distance from Sophia as much as possible, continuing the family relationship without causing trouble. I didn't want to complain to my husband or in-laws about Sophia and risk her bearing a grudge. Considering that, the daily sarcasm seemed trivial. That was until I had to go on a business trip out of state for 5 days due to work. During this period, my husband was supposed to take care of our daughter. My in-laws were away on a trip, so it was tough for my husband, but he was eager, saying he'd go through it. True to his word, he managed the hectic weekdays, and tomorrow was the last day of my trip. I was on the phone with Karen, who had just returned from daycare.
What are you gonna do tomorrow?
Guess what? Daddy and I are gonna have a picnic at the big park. Over the phone, I could hear my daughter excitedly talking about what she was going to do tomorrow. We'll eat lunch and I want to do the obstacle course too.
That sounds fun, honey. Mama will be back tomorrow night. Just make sure you do the obstacle course with Daddy, it can be dangerous.
After hearing my daughter's energetic reply, I ended the call. Karen looked so happy. Hugo must have been doing a great job. I decided to make my husband's favorite dishes when I got back. I thought about playing a lot with my daughter, considering she might have felt lonely. Little did I know, something like that was going to happen. I couldn't have imagined it at the time. It was the afternoon of the next day, as I was about to finish my last task at work. A colleague, with a grave look on their face, passed me a phone call. Rushing to answer, the caller was from the general hospital in our area. "Your daughter has been injured and brought in by ambulance. She's unconscious, please come immediately," they told me.
What do you mean? Where's my husband?
Confused and struggling to find words, I learned that there were no guardians at the scene of Karen's accident. A nearby parent and child had called for an ambulance. My contact information was in my daughter's belongings, so the hospital had called me. Where could Hugo have gone? I tried to contact my husband immediately. However, no matter how many times I called, he didn't answer. After explaining the situation to my boss, they told me, "Don't worry about work, go to your daughter right away." Grateful for their understanding, I hurriedly left work for the hospital. On the way back, I kept calling my husband and finally got through.
What's happening? Why are you so frantic? There's no time for that. Karen is injured and in the hospital. Where are you and what are you doing?
His voice was too calm through the phone, which made me raise my voice without realizing.
How could this happen while you were supposed to be with her?
Just wait a minute. I'm in the middle of a business meeting at the office.
What?
His unexpected reply only added to my confusion. It was a holiday today, and he was supposed to be spending it with our daughter.
You're working? What are you talking about? You said you were going to the park with Karen today.
But didn't Sophia contact you?
Hearing that name made me freeze on the spot.
Why would Sophia be involved?
Barely managing to utter those words, my husband began to realize the gravity of the situation. Regaining a bit of composure, I explained our daughter's condition and heard the full story from him. A little after our call ended yesterday. While preparing dinner, he received a call from his boss. Apparently, a big deal came through, and you're the only one who can handle it, he was told and couldn't refuse. Desperate, he tried contacting his parents, but of course, they couldn't return from their trip immediately. That's when Sophia called, seemingly perfect timing.
I heard from Mom and Dad. You got caught up with work all of a sudden? I'm free tomorrow, so I can take care of Karen.
Seemingly concerned for my troubled husband, my in-laws must have informed Sophia.
A picnic at the park? Then, I'll have to make lunch too,
she said, willingly taking on the responsibility of caring for our daughter. I'll contact Natalia, so don't worry, she said, leading him to believe I was informed. Under those circumstances, to my husband, it must have felt like a relief. But hearing the whole story, I felt a chill run down my spine.
Karen, did she resist?
I couldn't help but ask. Being alone with Sophia, who was only kind in front of her father. I'm sure my 5-year-old daughter had her suspicions.
She was crying, wanting to go with Daddy. But, since Sophia was kind enough to come over, I told her not to be selfish. I never imagined something like this would happen.
The conversation with my husband ended awkwardly, and I hung up. Upon arriving at the hospital, I was immediately directed to the ICU. Karen had fallen from high playground equipment and hit her head, still unconscious. When the doctor said there's no danger to her life, but she might have lasting effects, I nearly collapsed from despair. If only I had contacted Hugo one more time this morning. If only I hadn't taken on that business trip. Despite knowing there was nothing I could do about it now, those thoughts kept swirling around in my head. How much time had passed? While I was standing there dazed, my husband arrived at the hospital, and it seemed he had also contacted Sophia.
Is Karen okay? Is she safe? Hey, is she all right?
Sophia, who appeared before us, was sobbing and worried about our daughter.
I just took my eyes off her for a moment to go to the bathroom. I told her I'd be right back.
Before we could say anything, she started making excuses.
But that's just an excuse, isn't it? It's my fault for not watching her properly. I'm really sorry.
After saying what she wanted to, Sophia just cried, leaving no room for us to blame her.
Why didn't you come to the hospital sooner? I got a call from Hugo, and you're only getting here now.
I struggled to keep my voice steady, trembling with anger.
I've been looking for Karen the whole time. The park was too big, and I couldn't find her.
Considering she had been searching the vast park, it was odd that her clothes weren't dirty, and even stranger that she didn't notice the commotion when the ambulance arrived. Honestly, my only thought was, how could she? But pointing that out now would only lead to her dodging the issue.
Hugo said he told you to contact me, didn't he? I haven't heard anything? Well, I thought, since you were busy with work, I didn't want to bother you.
Watching Sophia choke up her words and act as if she was afraid of me, my anger only grew.
Hey, calm down, Natalia. She's already feeling sorry, and it wasn't on purpose. Don't be too hard on Sophia.
My husband began to defend his sister, seemingly feeling pity for her. What? It's like I'm the bad guy here. I took a deep breath and simply said, okay. Thinking she had been forgiven, Sophia repeated I'm sorry, covered her face with her hands, and started to sob again. But I didn't miss it. The moment she brought her hands to her face, Sophia glanced at me and quietly smirked. After Sophia left, I confronted my husband.
Do you really believe what Sophia said? Do you truly think she was watching Karen properly?
What do you mean?
I mean, it doesn't make sense. And I saw it, for a moment she...
Calm down. Natalia, you're probably just tired. I know you want to blame someone, but Sophia didn't mean any harm.
He was interrupted by the doctor coming out of the treatment room. Hearing your daughter has regained consciousness brought tears of relief to my eyes. Karen could speak, but her memory of the events leading up to and following the injury was hazy.
Karen, do you understand? It's Mom.
Mom. Where am I? My head hurts. This was supposed to be a fun day. Seeing my daughter lying in bed made me feel sorry for her all over again.
You went to play with Sophia, but then you got hurt and came here. It's all okay now.
Sophia. Is Sophia here?
No, she's not here. Karen, what did you do today with her?
I forgot. After that, she stopped talking, pulled the blanket over her head, and started to shiver. It was a gesture Karen always made when she was afraid of something. Is she afraid of Sophia? Did she do something to her? Because of her memory issues, my daughter was scheduled to stay in the hospital for a few days for tests. On the way home, I tried telling my husband, Karen seems to be afraid of Sophia, but he dismissed it the same way as before, saying I was overthinking it. If only there was some evidence, it might convince him to keep Karen away from Sophia. Without any belief from him, I needed evidence of Sophia's true nature to show my husband, for our daughter's sake. Later, I reached out to a junior from my college days. She was part of the same circle as Sophia back then and knew her well. She always had to be number one, a troublesome kid. Friends? As if she could have any. With a liar like that, the disdainful voice of my junior, clearly fed up, is something I won't forget anytime soon. From her, I got Sophia's social media account information. Furthermore, I checked the contents of the cell phone my daughter loves to use for kids. Lately, whenever we go out, Karen always carries this phone with her, capturing videos of the scenery and conversations with people she's with. It's become her latest craze. There might be evidence in here of Sophia treating my daughter coldly, that would be a rare find. That's what I thought, lightly. Until I saw the videos recorded on it. To put it bluntly, my suspicions were confirmed. But it wasn't just about exposing her true nature anymore. On the third day of my daughter's hospitalization. On a holiday morning, my husband and I visited his parents' house, and we arranged for them to go visit our daughter in the hospital with him. Using the excuse that it would be bothersome to go to the hospital in a large group, I stayed behind. In the living room, Sophia was leisurely sipping coffee. Hello, Natalia. How's Karen since then? she's much better. She might be able to leave the hospital soon. That's good to hear. Sophia, with her eyebrows furrowed in an exaggerated, theatrical voice, feigned relief. What's good about it? Which mouth of yours is saying that? As usual, Sophia plays the part of the good sister-in-law in front of the parents and my husband. I matched her act, putting on my best kind sister-in-law performance.
Well, we're off to the hospital then,
said my husband as the three of them left the house, and both Sophia and I waved them off with a smile. Once it was just the two of us, as expected, Sophia's attitude changed completely.
What do you want? You didn't stay to make small talk, did you?
I faced her squarely, resting her cheek in her hand, clearly annoyed.
Could you apologize to Karen? And I want you to take responsibility for what happened this time.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
It's your daughter who's at fault for not following instructions and acting on her own, isn't it? And you think you can keep up that lie forever?
I confronted Sophia with copies of her social media posts. They included a post saying, "Woke up early to make this for my boyfriend today," accompanied by a photo of Sophia happily sharing a lunchbox with a man. I also showed her all the posts from that day, detailing shopping and dinner outings.
This was the day you were supposed to be looking after Karen. You left her in the park to go on a date with your boyfriend.
The story of her searching for my daughter all along was a fabrication, evidenced by these photos. As Sophia looked over each photo, her expression darkened for a moment before she scoffed and tossed the documents aside.
What's this supposed to prove? The date on a post can be changed with settings, you know?
Indeed, as Sophia said, the evidence might not be conclusive. People often deliberately change the timeline of their posts to prevent their personal information and private life from being fully exposed.
This boyfriend of yours, he's an old circle friend, isn't he? I heard from my junior. Wow, you went out of your way to contact someone just to dig up dirt on me. You must be really bored.
Sophia laughed mockingly at me, clearly showing no remorse. Such an attitude of belittlement.
Whether the post date and the actual photo-taking day match, we can find out by checking with this guy through my junior. So what if I have a boyfriend and went to the park with him?
What's wrong with that?
So you admit to babysitting while on a date? Who I ask to help babysit is my business, isn't it?
With that selfish remark, Sophia turned away. So, in the end, you want to say it's Karen's fault for not following instructions, not yours at all? Confirming that in my mind, I silently nodded.
Anyway, no matter what you say, my parents and brother won't believe you. So, you're planning to align your story with your boyfriend and erase the posts to cover it up?
I suppose you would do that. No need for such tricks.
It's obvious they'll believe me, a family member, over someone else like you.
Sophia said this with a face full of conviction, sure of her victory. But her ability to maintain that attitude ended there.
I think they'll believe this,
I said as I pulled out my cell phone and played one video.
What's this?
Upon hearing the audio from the video, Sophia's face, previously confident, turned to shock as she stared at the screen. What was shown was the truth of that day, recorded by my daughter. The video captured the surrounding scenery and, clearly, Sophia's voice berating my daughter repeatedly. "Stop fussing over flowers and hurry up. You're so slow," Sophia yelled. Then came Karen's trembling voice, "I'm sorry." Sophia also filled my daughter's head with insults about me and threatened her if she dared to talk back, "Shut up. If you talk back again, I'll leave you behind." The footage that followed only showed Karen's feet walking slowly, likely too scared to even look up at Sophia. After a while, the video showed Sophia rushing off to a man, laying out a leisure sheet, and starting to eat without paying any mind to my daughter. When Karen tried to eat some side dishes, Sophia snapped, "Don't touch it, it's dirty. It wasn't made for you," pushing Karen's hand away. Then, as if she had an idea, Sophia smiled at Karen, "Hey, do you want to go back to your mom and dad?" Upon Karen's nod, Sophia suggested, "Let's play a game then. If you can get to the top of that playground equipment alone, I'll take you home," pointing to the park's largest playground structure. The video ended as Karen headed towards it. When my husband and I reviewed this footage yesterday, I couldn't count how many times I cried. After watching all the videos, Sophia was trembling, but soon she slammed the table forcefully and stood up.
What is this? Are you threatening me with a child's video? You're insane.
You're trying to pin this on me and Hugo, making it seem like you knew Karen would get hurt.
It's just your daughter who was stupid enough to fall for it.
In a fit of rage, Sophia snatched the cell phone from me and, unbelievably, smashed it against the wall. The screen shattered, and the internals were exposed, clearly beyond repair. With a face red with anger and breathing heavily, Sophia smirked.
Now you have no evidence. Serves you right.
Her expression was the epitome of evil. But to me, her attitude felt almost comforting. Yes, keep yelling. Show your true, vile nature even more. I was afraid my heart would be filled with darkness if I let my guard down. So, before that happened, I decided to stop her. She admit to leaving Karen in danger knowingly, Hugo? I said, pulling out a second cell phone from my pocket. Pressing the speaker button, the enraged voices of my in-laws and husband were heard.
Wait. Hugo, Dad, Mom. Why?
I've had the phone on this whole time. They've been listening to everything. And you'll be paying for the phone you broke. It's mine, after all.
But
what Sophia didn't know was that the video she saw was a copy. The original was safely with my husband.
There's no way I'd bring our daughter's important phone here. I suspected you might do something, but I didn't think you'd smash it. It was just a joke. I didn't think Karen would take it seriously. I never imagined she'd actually climb up there.
Sophia, now pale-faced, started making excuses, her voice a mix of apologies and attempts at manipulation.
Karen fell, and I was so scared. I couldn't do anything, and when the ambulance arrived, I just ran away. I'm sorry.
Tears filled her eyes as she meekly apologized, trying to elicit sympathy. Of course, no one was falling for it anymore. Realizing she had no way out, Sophia turned her anger towards me again.
Don't look at me like that. It's all your fault. You, your daughter, my brother, my parents, you took everything from me.
Stop making ridiculous accusations.
Shut up. Just because you're a little good at your job and had a kid, everyone fusses over you. It makes me sick. You and your daughter.
As Sophia started to lash out, I was at a loss for words. Just then, at that very moment, my in-laws, who had been waiting in the car, came into the room. Thanks to my father-in-law scolding Sophia, thankfully, no hands were laid on me. I've been given permission to do as I please with her. I decided to take them up on their offer. I will be filing a police report, I declared, and my in-laws agreed without hesitation. Seeing them nod without any reluctance, Sophia began to cry for real and clung to my feet.
Wait. I understand. I'll apologize. I'll apologize to Karen. Please don't report this to the police. Please.
Those pleading eyes, looking up at me, she must have been manipulating people like this since she was a child. If you had admitted what you did from the start, I would have given you a chance to apologize. I thought to myself, looking at her as if she were trash. But now, I've lost that feeling. I will never forgive someone like you. You will face the full extent of the law. I believe this was the only time I ever treated someone with such cold disdain. I simply looked down silently at my sister-in-law, kneeling and slumped over. My memory of what happened next is vague, and I don't quite remember how we left my husband's family home. Next thing I knew, I was with my husband in our daughter's hospital room.
Mom, what happened? Are you okay?
Karen's voice finally brought me some peace. We filed the police report that very day. As a result, Sophia was subjected to legal punishment. I had thought our chances were slim since Sophia hadn't directly harmed her, but the police said the videos my daughter took and the call records I had let my husband listen to were decisive. Thanks to that evidence, they could prove Sophia had maliciously put my daughter in danger, thinking it was okay if she got hurt. Though she wouldn't be behind bars for more than a year, For someone with her princess attitude, it must have been quite a shock. My in-laws decided to disown Sophia, sold their house, and moved away, ensuring she wouldn't have a family to return to after serving her sentence. Karen, fortunately, didn't suffer any notable aftereffects and was discharged from the hospital without issue.
Grandpa, Grandma, I want this pink one.
Next spring, Karen will start elementary school. Choosing a backpack with her grandparents, she's as lively as ever today.